Hi, my name's Daisy, and today we're going to be looking at how real-life renewable energy sources can be created and used in Minecraft. So before we get into the main part of the video, I'm just going to run through a few basic blocks and concepts that will definitely come in handy today. But don't worry if you don't remember everything straight away, you can always rewind the video and remind yourself at any time. The first thing we're going to be looking at are target blocks, and if you watch my redstone video, you'll know that when you place redstone down, it is directed in a straight line, just like this. But when I put the target block next to it, you'll see that another junction has appeared going towards the target block, and this is really useful because it means that we can power more than one output in the same circuit at the same time. Now we're going to be looking at comparators reading containers. So just here in the middle, we can see a redstone comparator. And what they do is they compare the state of the block that is behind it. Now we know which way the redstone comparator is facing by looking at which way the white arrow in the middle is pointing, in this case towards the turquoise block. So behind it we have a container, which in this case is a barrel, but it could be a chest, it could be a hopper, it could be any container in Minecraft. So currently we can see that the barrel is empty, which means that the comparator is not producing an output and the light is off. But when I place an item into the barrel, like so, you can see that the comparator is on and it's producing an output, which means in turn the light is on. This is very helpful when we're trying to indicate if there is a change happening within a circuit. So now we're going to be looking at observer blocks, and the observer block is this grey one just here. And what they do is they produce a pulse output when they notice a change to the block in front of them. So here you can see I have sown some seeds in the block in front of the observer. And if I speed up the growth process with this bone meal in my hand, you'll see that the light behind the observer briefly turned on and off again. And that's what we mean by a pulse input. And that happened because there was a change to the block in front of the observer. Now we're going to be looking at redstone torches. So in the redstone tutorial we've previously done, we looked at how redstone can be used to power blocks such as this light. So when I press the button, you can see that the light turns on. But if we add a redstone torch, you can see that the light is on even before I press the button. But the reason why redstone torches are so useful is because now when I do press the button, the light turns off. So redstone torches can be used to flip or invert the power of a circuit. Now we're going to be looking at barrels, hoppers and droppers, and these are three new blocks that can be used individually or as a combination like the one shown here. Barrels are containers just like chests, and they can be used to store stuff in. Hoppers, which is this grey block below, are used to transfer items from the block directly above it to somewhere else, in this case to the dropper. And the dropper, as in the name, drops items when powered to do so. So what we can do is if we put 16 amethysts into the barrel, you'll see that actually they slowly start to go down. If we click on the hopper now, you'll see that one just disappeared out of the hopper and they've all gone directly into the dropper. Now, when I click the button to power the dropper, you'll see that the amethysts individually come flying out and I can pick them up. So if we do that for all of them, I'm just going to take the rest of them out. So hoppers can be locked and unlocked using something as simple as this lever. So now, when I put the amethysts back into the barrel, you can go into the hopper and see that none of the items are moving out of the barrel, and there should be no items in the dropper to be dropped. Now we're going to be talking about the T flip-flop, which is this block down here. And these are new blocks to the game, and although they have a quite funny name, they are actually a real-life thing used in computing, engineering and electronics. Now remember the pulse signal we talked about earlier. When I click this button to turn the light on, it turns off again when the button is released, and that's because it's just sending one single signal to the light. The job of the T flip-flop, or the toggle, is to change the state of that pulse and turn it into a constant strong signal, keeping the light turned on even is unpressed. Now, when I unpress the button again, you can see that the light turns off and it stays off. Now that we have done a run through of some new blocks and concepts, we're going to look at the key circuits that we'll be using to create renewable energy sources today. Throughout the rest of the video, we're going to be using colour-coded wool to separate different areas of circuits. This will also always be in the corner of the screen if you need to remind yourself. If we're going to be making energy from a renewable source, we need to use it in something. In this case, we'll be using a very simple battery model. We're using iron nuggets, which we've called electrons, and these electrons in real life are charged particles which create a flow of electricity called current. If we put some of the electrons into the input of the battery and then turn the input on, you can see that the electrons leave the hopper and go into the battery. This is the flow of electrons charging up the battery and putting energy into it. In this instance, we will say that the maximum capacity of the battery, or however many electrons fill it up, is 16. This is when the battery is fully charged. Now, when we unlock this bottom hopper, that's like us using the battery to power something, like a light or a toy. What you'll see now is that the electrons drain out of the battery and into the hopper, which then get discarded into this chest. That means that the battery now has no more energy left and is flat. Now, this circuit isn't necessary, but it is very handy when we want to incorporate it into the simple battery design that we just saw. It's an automatic dispenser, which means that whereas before when we were using the dispenser, we had to press the button in order to send a single pulse output to dispense one item at a time, this will do it automatically until there is no items left to dispense. So if I go into this chest and take a stack of amethysts, when I put them into the dispenser, you'll see that I'm not pressing any buttons and the amethysts are being dispensed one by one. The reason why this is useful is because it can be incorporated into our battery design so that rather than the electrons going into a discard pile or a chest, they will automatically be sent back to the input hopper and we don't have to put them in manually every time we use the battery. This is also going to make playing Minecraft much easier, and it uses automation in the same way that real-life engineers do. This is what it looks like when we combine the two circuits we have just looked at. If I unlock the hopper using this lever here, you'll see that the battery is now charging and electrons are going into it. Then, when the battery is fully charged, we can release the energy, which will in turn power the light. As the electrons or energy are being used, they will drain into this output hopper until the light turns off because we have no energy left. Those electrons, using the circuit we have just looked at, which you can see here, will go back into the input hopper, ready to recharge the battery and turn the light back on, just like so. You can see that they're still going into it, and then I can turn the light back on. Now, if we want to make our battery a bit more realistic, they don't use energy at the exact same rate that they charge, which is what is currently happening in Minecraft. So to slow down the release of the electrons from the hopper into the battery, we're going to use this hopper clock. And what that does is it incrementally locks and unlocks the hopper, which releases the electrons into the battery or into the barrel. So when I turn this on, you will see that every second or so it creates a pulse output and turns the light on. And what that means is every time we see the light turn on, one electron is being released into the input, which is much slower than if we unlock the hopper and let all of the electrons power the light in one go. And these hopper clocks can be slowed down or sped up depending on how many things are in this hopper. So if we put less items in, then this will speed up, and if we take items out, then it will slow down. Now that we have covered the basic circuits, I'm going to show you how they are put together to make renewable energy sources that we can use to power things in Minecraft. For this, I'm not going to be on the screen so that you can get the full range of view. So now we're going to focus on how we can use two different kinds of renewable energy to create charge that can power electrical outputs, just like in real life. As we fly over, here we can see a large dam. A dam is a structure that creates a barricade in front of water, such as this lake. They are used to control the flow of water from one place to another. They can even help prevent flooding and droughts. More importantly, the actual flow of the water can be used to create energy. In real life, water is released from the dam in a stream that powers a turbine by making it spin. This creates electrical energy. However, in Minecraft, we are going to be using an observer block. As we know, when an observer block sees a change in the block in front of it, it creates a pulse of energy. So when I flick this lever, the water starts flowing past the observer block, which creates the pulse. We then use a T flip-flop to turn that pulse signal into a continuous signal. So rather than the circuit just turning on for a few seconds and turning straight off again, it will not turn off until the water stops flowing past the observer now. Next, the comparator reads that the T flip-flop is producing a constant output and creates a similar signal to output to the electrical circuit and power it. This in turn charges the battery. And then here we can see the input hopper. This is where the electrons or the charge are stored ready to charge the battery. This middle section is the same battery model as we saw earlier, with the automated dispenser around the back for convenience. And on the other side of the battery we have a hopper clock, which again is used to make the battery more realistic by charging and releasing electrons into the battery bit by bit. So if we are using the electrical energy created by the hydroelectric dam to power this light, we first need to charge the battery. To do this, we pull the lever to release the flow of water. When we do this, we can see that the number of electrons in the battery is increasing. When we get to the maximum capacity and the battery is fully charged, we can stop the water again. Then, when we pull this lever to use the power, we can see that the light turns on and the number of electrons in the battery is decreasing as we use the power to keep the light turned on. Once all of the energy has been used, the lights turn off, indicating that the battery is out of charge and there is no power left. Now, if we leave the lever on to power the light, nothing will happen as there is no energy left in the battery. However, if we wanted a continuous supply of energy to go to the light, we would leave the lever down and open the piston to release the water. If we look inside the battery now, you can see that for every electron that gets used to power the light, another is gained from the hydroelectric dam. The other renewable energy source we're going to look at is solar panels. Solar panels are special tiles that are typically put in places that receive lots of sunlight, like on top of roofs or in open fields. The panels are made up of tiny parts called cells, which are like small energy collectors. When sunlight hits these cells, they get excited and start moving around, creating electricity. Inside this house we can see a light that we need to power. And in this field over here we can see a model of a solar farm. Over here we can see the real circuit setup. We have another setup that uses a battery to collect the energy created by the solar panels. The orange wall represents the output of the circuit, which we can see goes all the way down to the house. This is a lot like the pylons you see in real life. The solar power battery charges in the daytime, just like now. Up here we have a daylight sensor. When it is yellow, it means it is detecting the sunlight and sending a signal to the circuit. this means that the battery should and is currently charging up. We want to turn the lights on in the house when it becomes dark. To do this easily in Minecraft, I have actually set these buttons up using command blocks, which allows me to do it immediately. So if I press this button, you can see that it is now nighttime. The daylight sensor is now not detecting the sun, the solar panel circuit is not charging, but it is outputting electricity to the power supply. If we have a look at the battery here, we can see the electrons decreasing, and if we run down to the house, the light is on. We can use electricity from solar panels or hydroelectric dams for all sorts of things, like lighting up rooms, charging batteries, or even running big machinery. Using these renewable energy sources is great for the planet because it's a clean way to get energy. Unlike burning coal or oil, which creates pollution, solar panels and hydroelectric dams use the sun or water, which is free and endless source of energy. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Try the builds out for yourself and see how you get on. You can always come back to the videos whenever you need to remind yourself of anything. Thank you for watching.